Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. Today we will start our fourth and last part from the chapter egg. Since we have learned that eggs give the texture to the food, the two main components of eggs are egg white and egg yolk. Egg yolks are used as a foam in many recipes. What are foams? Foams are usually produced by beating the egg white or egg yolk vigorously. The yolk does not have an ability to get doubled in size, but it does get light yellow in color and do increase in volume to some extent. These yolk foams are utilized in certain baked products, notably sponge cakes and puffy omelets. Yolk foams are quite heavy compared with white foams, probably because of the high density of yolk. Yolk foams are sufficiently stable to permit them to be folded with other ingredients and then baked, thus contributing to the textural characteristics and volume of the baked product. But they do not become stiff enough to form peaks as do the egg white, but they do pile up and they do get flattened and incorporate in the other ingredients to give a texture. Likewise, the egg whites can be beaten vigorously to produce a foam. Foams needed to be stable if they are to have a role in food preparation. Stability is enhanced if the surface tension is low, if vapor pressure is low, and if a substance solidifies on surface of the bubbles. For the stability purpose, there may be some stability agents can be introduced while making a foam to make it more stable. Egg white meets all these requirements, making it a particularly useful food when a foam is desired. What happens with the agitation? The egg albumin can be spread over a large surface area, and air can be incorporated into the bubbles created by beating the proteins. Some of the proteins are denatured by beating action and then aggregate to enhance the stability of the developing foam. The foam may mm, vary in their stability, as I've told you, uh, from one white to another white. It depends on the recipe how much stable foam is required. The stability can be enhanced by using those agents. The two utmost factors that are important in making egg white foams are stability and volume. It may become double in size with uh, the agitation, with the proper agitation. But yet, a care should be taken for some recipes. The overbeating can dry up the white foams and it will not give the good volume to the baked products. Since stability and volume are known to be an important factors for the formation of white foams, let's see how we can judge the stability of white foams. It can be judged by measuring the drainage of liquid that is coming from the foam from a given quantity of the foam over a specific period of time. Convenient technique is to place a weigh amount of foam in a funnel of no capacity and bore and then collect the drainage in a graduated cylinder into which the funnel has been placed. The funnel needs to be covered with plastic wrap to prevent evaporation. As you have already calculated the time for how long you should keep the foam to get the drainage. The drainage is then read after the specific length of time. The more drainage, it means the less stable is the foam. If the drainage is less, it means The egg white foam is more stable. The links are provided in the description box from where you can see how that stability experiment can be performed. There are some factors that may interfere with the foam stability. First of all, the extent of beating. It is very important because as the beating progresses, the foam becomes increasingly stable up to a critical point, after which continued beating decreases stability. So maximum stability is reached when the whites just bend over, but before maximum volume has been reached. So if you keep on beating the egg whites to form the foam, once you have reached to the critical point, you have to stop the beating. Because if you cross that limit, the egg foam will start becoming dry. Ultimately, the foam formation is delayed when the whites are well below the room temperature, and the foam will not, that dry foam will not be able to give you the desired textural characteristic. Other than that, the addition of other ingredients also influences the stability. Sometimes salt is added to an egg white foam for flavor, but this addition reduces stability slightly. Occasionally, recipes include some added liquids in making an egg white foam. This dilutes the protein in the foam and decreases the stability. If yolk happens to contaminate the white at all, as can happen during the separation of yolks and white, stability of the foam formed from the white is reduced. So, not all ingredients reduce stability. In fact, the addition of sugar has a positive effect on foam stability. A possible explanation is that the addition of sugar delays foam formation significantly, which means that considerably more beating is necessary to reach the proper stage of foam development. This increased beating results in a foam with a finer texture and more surface area. This foam is stabilized with protein that has been partially denatured by beating. Also, there are some acidic ingredients which commonly we use to make the foam stable is cream of tartar or lemon juice. They are basically more useful stabilizing agent when we are making egg white foams. These are particularly added earlier in the formation of the foam. Although stability is promoted by reducing the pH of the egg white foam, formation of the foam is delayed by this addition. Again, the delay in reaching the desired endpoint in whipping the foam results in increased total agitation and a finer, more stable foam. Cream of tartar is particularly effective as the acid ingredient when the pH of the white foam approaches 6, whereas citric acid and cream of tartar are about comparable in their effects at pH 8. Usually we do this experiment in class, and cream of tartar is always gives us a good result as it seems to be more effective and it seems to give a more stable white foam. The second important factor in egg white foam is volume. And in volume, the temperature of the whites influences it. Because surface tension is greater in whites which are just removed from the refrigerator than those that are kept in the room. There are several factors that may influence the volume of egg whites. First of all is the quality of the whites. As we all know that there are two types of whites, the thick white and the thin white. When there is a comparatively large amount of thin white, the foam forms quickly and reaches a larger volume. But that volume is reduced when beating is extended. In comparison to that, thick white requires more beating to reach the desired endpoint, but the foam achieved holds its volume well. The second factor is the type of beater. A wire whisk can create a foam with larger volume than it is achieved using a rotary hand beater. Though the experience is required, another kind of beater can also make a good volume foam. Electric mixtures can achieve foams with high volumes, but they may produce foams that are overbeaten and consequently of low volume. Why? Because we keep on beating and mixing the egg white without realizing that how much beating is required. But while using the electric mixtures, some added ingredients can be used, and that may extend the mixing time of the egg white, and that results in comparatively a good volume product. Another factor is the extent of beating. It has a definite influence on volume as well as stability. It has already been explained. Volume increases gradually as beating progresses to the foamy stage. The point at which the whites are still transparent and fluid, yet definitely are whipped into large bubbles throughout. With further beating beyond the foamy stage, the foam continues to expand, gradually becomes more opaque, and exhibits the ability to be pulled up into peaks. At first these peaks sag quickly, then rounded. Soft peaks form that progresses gradually to stiff peaks as beating continues. At this point, maximum volume is achieved. After that, the additional beating beyond stiff peak results in a dry, rather brittle form of a cheat. So a careful beating should be done. There is an extent there is a end point which should not be extended. Added ingredients definitely influences volume. Acid reduces volume a little, while sugar has good impact on the volume of foams. Yolk, if mixed with egg whites, does reduce the volume, while water gives good volume, but the volume will be lost immediately due to the lack of stability. Meringues. What are meringues? These are egg white foam that contains sugar. That's a very simple definition. What we have been studying are the foams that are purely made from egg whites. But once sugar is added in those egg whites and they are beaten likewise to create a foam and to create volume in it, it is called meringues. So by definition, meringues are egg white foam containing sugar. The quantity of sugar used in their formations is the basis of the classifying them into two categories. These are soft meringues and hard meringues. The basic difference between these two types of meringue is the quantity of sugar. Soft meringues are the one which contains about 25 gram, approximately 2 tablespoons of sugar per egg white. These are usually used for the toppings of ice creams, toppings of cream, cream pies basically. While the hard meringues are the egg white foam that contains about 50 grams of sugar, that is approximately 4 tablespoons per egg white. They are baked to a dry, brittle cookie or dessert shell. In comparison to soft meringues, hard meringues are totally different. Their characteristics differ from each other. Instead of being soft and pleasing, brown, Hard meringues are considered ideal when they are crisp and dry with an extremely pale surface. They should cut easily because of their crispness and tenderness. If they are not dried sufficiently, they will be tough and slightly sticky to cut. Why is it so? Because of the high content of sugar in it. By beating the whites to the soft peak stage before adding any sugar, the time required can be minimized. Then the sugar should be added gradually while operating the electric mixture at full speed. Beating should be continued until stiff peaks can be pulled up. Overbeating is virtually impossible because of the large amount of sugar. Meringues, soft meringues are delicate to make because they have a tendency for beading and leaking. Soft meringues are lightly sweetened and used on top of the pies and desserts. So, what is leaking? Leaking is the draining liquid from a soft meringue to the surface of the filling of a cream pie. It is likely caused by failure to coagulate all the proteins in the foam. What happens when you whisk meringue on high speed? You are likely to get stiff peaks before the sugar has had a chance to dissolve, which can lead to sugar leak out when it is baked. A more composed medium speed allows the sugar to fully dissolve before getting the perfect texture. Soft meringues are difficult to make because of their tendency for beading and leaking. Since soft meringues have less amount of sugar, so they are little difficult to handle, and also they have a tendency to produce beads and they got leaked. What is beading? Beading is the collection of small drops of amber-like droplets on the surface of an over-baked soft meringue. It is the formation of droplets of a golden brown color when the finished pie had an opportunity to stand for a while. It results from the overcoagulation of some of the protein at the surface of the baked meringues. The problem is most likely found when the meringue has been placed on a hot pie filling, because the additional heat contained may bake the meringue more quickly than anticipated, leading to overbaking. One effective technique that is used when meringue has been placed on a hot filling is to bake it in a hot oven. The temperature mentioned is 218 degrees Celsius until a pleasing golden brown color develops, which makes a little more than 4 minutes. This quick heating limits the amount of residual heat accumulated in the interior of and reduces the likelihood of overbaking and beading. One of the characteristics that are found for the soft meringues are that they are less sticky and they are more tender if these soft meringues are baked at 218 degrees Celsius than 163 degrees Celsius. Any soft meringues will be sticky and hard to manage within 24 hours of its preparation and baking. That will make us to think then how the commercially made soft meringues are handled by them. So for them, they have been using some kind of stabilizing agent to make the meringue stabilized, and as per the demand of the customer they try to manage the soft meringues around the time when the orders are yet to give. So the soft meringues are always difficult to manage because of its high tendency to get beat. As the name shows, there may be some substitutes that can be used instead of the whole eggs. Why the concern was raised, as it has been investigated that the cholesterol content of egg yolks are not good for those people who are having the high cholesterol levels in their blood. So basically it is done to eliminate the cholesterol from the egg, usually by removing just the yolk of the egg. The egg whites are used with a synthesized yolk mixtures to give it a texture that yolk may give. Color may be added to the food in place of yolk color. It is usually carotenoid. These egg substitutes are available as fresh or frozen ones, or they may be available in refrigerator forms. However, these egg substitutes are present, they fail to give the aroma, the taste, the volume, and the quality which a egg can give. So many egg whole egg products can be made with egg substitute to obtain results that are satisfactory, even though they are not quite equal to the same products made with fresh eggs. So these egg substitutes are usually um customized for those people who are suggested by any dietitian to take limited amount of yolk that may contain higher amounts of cholesterol.